Hey, greetings, everyone. Before we even start tonight, I'm going to make sure that everyone is able to hear me loud and clear. So, testing, testing, one, two, three, testing, 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 testing. All right, so on our test equipment here, and for the people that are here with me, we can hear on the cell phones. So I'm going to unmute one of you all just to make sure that you all are able to hear. Ending in 666. I'm just going to unmute you. Just let me know if you can hear me, yes or no.
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. All right, cool. Okay, so greetings, everyone. This is Metaphysic Speaks in the spirit of Dr. Delbert Blair, and this is your host, Tony. I hope everyone is doing well in your time and space. Oh, I mentioned time. There's only 1,440 minutes in a day. No matter who you pray to or what your belief system is, you're not going to get even 1 minute more added to your life. So use your time wisely. Also, I hope you have your favorite beverage of choice while we have our conversation tonight. My beverage is just some water. So our main topic tonight is who is the arch enemy of the empath? All right, so this is one of these cosmic uploads. We have about, at this moment, people are still coming in, but we have about 250 people on the line right now, and it is counting. So so again, this will be a major upload into the collective consciousness around the world. Just like at the beginning of the year, we had the compression, and we also had 2020 quantum clarity within the conscious collective. So we had two major uploads already this year, and so it allowed people from all across the planet to understand what is going on, why things are happening, what is happening, who is responsible, and everything else. So this one's going a bit deeper, just because you can say spiritually certain lines in the sand are starting to be more prominent. And so, of course, as usual, due to you all's continued patronage, even if it's just you just being present at events and things, here we go. And we're going to expose some of the intricate and not so seen things concerning our reality. But before we get to that, let's get into some updates. Okay, so coupon code tonight for podcast listeners is Empath, EMPATH. That's EMPATH. Empath will give you 15% off plus free shipping on any size order. Only thing you cannot use it on is events, but it will give you, again, 15% off plus free shipping on any size order. And the coupon code ends on Saturday. Got some new products. Palo Santo bracelets. So many of you are familiar with Palo Santo. The sticks, they smell really good. You can burn them and use them as fumigation to cleanse the energy in your environment, or also cleanse the energy within yourself by when you set it aflame, you move it around you, and some people meditate or say a prayer as they're doing it. But now we have Palo Santo bracelets. These bracelets are made from the same exact wood, and they smell really good as well. You don't burn them, you just wear them, okay? But over time, the scent will dissipate. You'll just take maybe a nail filer and just file some of the beads again, and the smell blooms around you. So also another new product, which was just put on the website earlier today, that is magnetic necklaces, okay? Magnetic necklaces. Helps with upper body circulation, amongst many other things. You can see it on the website as well. Again, those are magnetic necklaces. The last day to sign up for the upcoming Herbal class, which is class 201. You did not have to come to class 101 to attend. The deadline to sign up for the upcoming class, which is November 7th, is today. If you don't sign up by today, you will not be able to attend the class in November. Again, that's November 7th, which is a Saturday. It would go from, doors will open at 10 a.m. It would go into approximately 4:30 p.m. 10:30 a.m. we'll start our meditation, which will be crystal bowl meditation. What else? Of course, it'll be packed full of information. Let's see here. This upcoming Saturday, we'll be having a review of the class. For those people who signed up or who will be signing up tonight, you'll be getting coordinates in the next day or two. And it'll be for Saturday's review. And it will be for about an hour. It'll be on Zoom. Okay, so you'll get those coordinates later in the week. And it'll be at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we'll just go over some of the main bits of information concerning Class 101. So when you come to Class 201, you're just not in the dark. All right, so again, deadlines tonight. What else here? Okay. Okay, so as I'm going, so tonight's podcast is not really open lines, okay? So, and I'm not going to read the entire book. The book will be on the website in the next week or two. So we're going to go to two of the chapters in the Who's the Arch Enemy of the Empath. And so as I'm going along, if anything, any type of comment comes about, or you have a question about anything, you can hit 1 on the keypad as I'm going through, and then once I get through with everything, I will come to you. So if you think you may forget, write it down. What else here? And so before I get to it, it's quite interesting. Many of you all send me texts all the time, news articles all the time, and so tonight wasn't really one of those things because it's going to be kind of a shorter podcast tonight, but it's quite interesting that, one moment here, one of the listeners sent me some text earlier, and they were traveling all around on the East Coast, flying, that is. And at the JFK airport, they were making people fill out COVID paperwork. Also, specifically the people who are going out of the country. So he knew someone who was going to Jamaica. Let's see here. They made them, they had to be tested before they boarded the flight as well. And they had to get an app put on their phone, which will track them and whoever they come around. I found it to be fascinating. Okay. So, okay, is that here? Okay, so we'll explore maybe some of that in a later podcast. So again, thank you all for being who you are. Thank you all for your continued patronage and meditations and all that good stuff. It is well received. And of course, many people, because many more people are coming on the show these days, for whatever reason, when everyone dials in, they can't get through. Like even our phones here, when we tried to dial in, we just could not get connected at all until after a few tries. And so one person said here that finally got in after the 7th try. So, well, I do appreciate you all tuning in. So, here we go. We get straight into it here. Okay, so there's quite a few chapters, piece of work for the Conscious Collective. But the main 2 chapters we're going to go over tonight are the Empath and the Muwa. Okay, that's Muwa. That's it's spelled M-U-W-A, but it's pronounced Muwa, like how a cow goes moo, right? So Muwa. And those are the 2 chapters we're going to get into. Some of the other chapters deal with the pestilence. And it's not, some say, well, the pestilence is a disease. Well, it's not in that regard. It's a little bit different than that, okay? And so, of course, based on what you all hear tonight, I'm sure you'll want to have this in your collection or even to give to potentially a loved one. So So the empath and the moonwa. Okay, so first, what is an empath? Let us define empath utilizing popular online search results, which states an empath doesn't just feel for someone, they feel with someone. Taking in others' emotions so deeply can make you want to do something about them. So, an empath is someone who is able to bring internally the emotional state of another. These states could be of happiness or sadness and could, in many cases, cause distress upon the empath if one does not know how to guard one's heart and mind. Many times, empaths are feeling emotional states that do not originate from themselves, but from a person, people, or community that surrounds them. As such, true empaths are able to more readily understand the emotional nuances of those that suffer and, if balanced, able to ascertain the cause of the issue. Who can be an empath? And again, remember, this is all for a reason here, right? So, of course, we have to go over the basics so we're all on the same page. So, who can be an empath? Empaths can be male or female, tall or short, young or old, rich or poor, lighter skinned or darker, be of any ethnicity, be of any racial group, be from any country. As the above examples show, an empath can be anyone, and the reason this was stated like this is so one understands that judgments, or better yet, bias, can cause one's perception to become cloudy, which leads to potential mistakes or travesty taking place. If I had to put a percentage on it, I would say less than 20% of humans are pure empaths, while over 50% of humans have some type of empathic-like quality. This number is a presumption, of course, based on data of social dynamics of countries, which include social programs and the response to tyranny and strife that the populace shows. If we were to equate empathic concentration to a diluted drink, a pure empath will have zero dilution. This would be a drink of full strength, while anything less than full strength would, of course, have varying degrees of dilution. As such, certain natural and common human qualities should not be confused with being an empath, as even the muwa can show these qualities. Examples: how one feels concerning a person, place, or thing, how one feels concerning circumstances or events, how one feels internally concerning self. Empathic abilities should not also be confused with psychic abilities, which one could have one or both. Another common misconception is one being highly sensitive or emotional being equated to one being empathic. This is again not so. One could be a highly sensitive person and yet not be empathic at all. What are some of the pros of the empath? Relates to humanity on a level that goes deeper than flesh. Typically puts the interest of another before self. Tends to look for employment that can have some sort of community social upliftment and becomes a major bonus if it pays well. Tends to be the one who people come to for advice. The empathic ability is the main attribute within the attributes of humanity that can detect the muwa. Some of you are like, what is the muwa? We'll get into that shortly. If balanced, tend to be phenomenal at being a parent since they understand the nuances of children, which may show without words to describe inward feelings. Pure empaths can sense, see, and at times even smell the muwa. What are some cons of an empath? The muwa, being the predators that they are, manipulate the empath with guilt, knowing the empath's nature. Since the muwa seeks out positions of power, they will use the power to destroy or highly limit the empath, since the empath is the only one who can see through the grandstanding, silver-tongued words and false narratives put forth by the muwa. If the empath does not know their limit and stick to it, this is used by the muwa to scam or take more than their share, which at times leads to forms of abuse. empaths are often passed up for managerial roles. The muwa can sense, see, and at times even smell the empath. The muwa and its cohorts target the empath, knowing the empath more than likely will not fight back. This targeting could be in physical altercations or slander. Being an empath does not mean being nice nor a pushover. Even though the muwa thinks of empaths in this manner, does not mean it to be so. Empaths are in many positions in this world, including warriors, heads of companies, military generals, presidents, and the list goes on. In the current dynamic, they are far and few between, since those roles specifically attract a very specific type of entity that will fight to the brutal end to obtain it. And in many cases, it just isn't that serious and quite burdensome for most empaths. A power word for the empath is no. So again, for those who do not know even what a power word is, many know the power of the word no. So a power word for the empath is no. Because empaths will tend to overexert themselves helping others, one needs to know truly what their limit is and stay balanced within. When one tries to take you outside of that balance, the answer is simply no. The muwa will try, and they will push and potentially even punish you because you won't allow them to abuse you. The empath is literally the only barrier stopping the muwa from destroying everything. That was about the empath. And so let's get into the muwa. So, first, what is a sociopath? Let us define sociopath utilizing popular online search results, which states a person with a personality disorder manifesting itself in extreme antisocial attitudes and behavior and lack of consciousness. Conscious. In many circles, it is discussed and theorized that sociopaths are more so created by the environment and not necessarily born. An example of an environment that can create such an individual is one that everyone is out for themselves. As such, the children are usually the first neglected, which in turn potentially creates another generation of sociopaths, since they had to look after their own needs, since those who were supposed to provide and protect them did not. Also, let us define psychopathy, utilizing popular online search results, which states psychopathy, sometimes considered synonymous with sociopathy, is traditionally a personality disorder characterized by persistent antisocial behavior, impaired empathy and remorse, and bold, disinhibited, and egotistical traits. Now, they could be switched around many times, okay? In many circles, it is discussed and theorized that psychopaths are more so born than created by their environment. So sociopaths typically created by their environment, psychopaths born. All right. It is also theorized that many, if not most, heads of powerful positions, whether they be companies, governmental, military, etc., are full of psychopaths, since they are usually the first to or naturally drawn to positions which gives them control over others in praise. Bonus points if it gives both. The societal control structures do not maintain the checks and balances that keep these types from going overboard. If they do go overboard, watch out, since it will likely lead to overt sadistic actions not only privately but publicly. As a modern-day example, there is nothing wrong with being in front of the camera, especially if it is your business to do such. But these types will always be in front of the camera, always wanting you to look at them and to praise them. A tip to train your ability is when you're watching your favorite YouTube video or Facebook Live, is the presenter acting as a normal human would, no matter what the subject may be? Or are they actually trying to sway your emotions by acting out certain activities in front of the camera to purposely create a connection so you will move one way or another. So you will buy this or protest that. In the business world, this would be called, in the business world, they will call this marketing, the ability to change or sway one's thought process one way or another by means of subtlety, to invoke certain internal emotional states, which in reality is just slyness, witchery. A Pied Piper of shadow. And here, see, there's a lot of things going on. There's graphs here and everything, okay, but or pictures and stuff. But the thing about it is that the technique is techniques that either have been learned or are shown in the superhuman classes, okay. And so the technique, this particular technique, is the witch and the oracle. And over the last, some of you have been listening for quite a while, and so you heard me the witch and the oracle quite a few times. And there are many who come to the classes when we travel around the country, and just about every time we try to get into the specific witch and oracle information, which leads to a technique, either interrupted by a witch, literally interrupted by a witch. They claim they stand up and say, "Hey, I'm a witch. I don't like this," okay, or something else just doesn't allow it to take place, which is good. That's a good thing, because the technique is so powerful that it will give the beings of light, which most of you on the line are, that it will give you a most certainly an advantage against the muwa. But also, if a witch is actually in the room and listening, they could use it most definitely to cause more problems. Okay? So, from this point on, we will call the sociopath, psychopath, the muwa. Okay? Now, this is just some side notes here to you that, so one say, okay, so the muwa is a sociopath, psychopath. Well, that's one of the attributes. It's a spiritual energy. You understand what I'm saying? So that's one of the attributes that describes what the muwa is, but it's much deeper than that. Okay, one of the chapters which we are not getting into online here, because it shows pictures and stuff, and I'm not going to sit here and just describe all that stuff. But the chapter called the pestilence gets deep into more of the spiritual aspects of it. And so from this point on, we will call the sociopath, psychopath, the muwa, unless we need to explain specifics needed to differentiate between the two. So who can be the muwa? Muwa can be male or female, tall or short, young or old, rich or poor, lighter skin or darker, be of any ethnicity, be of any racial group, be from any. The above examples show muwa can be anyone, and the reason this was stated like this is so one understands that judgments, or better yet, bias, can cause one's perception to become cloudy, which leads to potential mistakes or travesty taking place, especially with the aforementioned personality types, since they are always plotting on how they can be above you in whatever environment that you may coexist. It is theorized that the muwa seek power, status, fame, attention, like how a person feels hunger and needs to eat. An insatiable drive toward these pursuits, but let's not mistake the muwa for a person who just likes to be in front of the camera. Okay, so let's not mistake the muwa for just a person who just likes to be in front of the camera. Okay, this is where the techniques of nuance comes into play, as one is able to pick up on the signs. Okay, so this is another technique in the superhuman classes that we be getting into much deeper into session 7. On our last podcast, it was a young man on by the name of Denzel, and even though he was a bit nervous, he partially explained, but I ended up explaining it for everyone, that he dramatically and exceptionally picked up on the nuances that led to him getting a really good job. Okay, just from a random person walking down the street saying, hey, he's in Illinois, telling him just randomly, you should go to Georgia. There's a job waiting for you. Okay, and he did it. And so he picked up on the nuances and followed through. So this could actually be trained and taught. So if you're interested in that, when the Superhuman Session 7 is announced, I suggest you join in. So, okay, it looks like everything didn't print out. Just give me one moment here. I may have to print out more of the pages. It looks like all of it didn't print. Let's see here. Okay, so as the above examples show, the muwa can be anyone. The reason for this was stated. Okay. All right, so it is theorized, and we went past that. So in the current world, muwa behavior is encouraged by all means, from the catering of one group over another, or because the corporate body's modus operandi is to make profit by any means. Mysteriously, those within this corporate structure, this body, operate all of a sudden without humanity, poisoning drinking water, the earth, air, and setting ablaze the flora and fauna. Muwa may seem something as simple as the aforementioned, being caused by environmental factors or genetic predisposition. From a third dimensional perspective, this may be true, but it is indeed a spiritual infliction. This conundrum is this a spiritual infliction caused by the downward trajectory of humanity, or is the infliction causing the downward trajectory itself because of their nature? That's like the chicken and the egg. Yeah, so there's a portion, about 2-3 pages here that we did not print out. Give me one moment here so I could go print these up. I'm going to turn on some music. Just give me a moment. Let's see here. Okay. Right here.
There's pain underneath. That's where our work needs to go. And what is it about society that disappoints you so much?
Oh, I don't know. Is it that we collectively thought Steve Jobs was a great man, even when we knew he made billions off the backs of children? Or maybe it's that it feels like all our heroes are counterfeit. The world itself's just one big hoax. Spamming each other with our running commentary bullshit, masquerading as insight. Our social media faking as intimacy. Or is it that we voted for this? Not with our rigged elections, but with our things, our property, our money. I'm not saying anything new. We all know why we do this, not because Hunger Games books makes us happy, but because we want to be sedated. Because it's painful not to pretend. Because we're cowards. Fuck society.
All right.
Did you know that the first Matrix was designed to be a perfect human world where none suffered, where everyone would be happy? It was a disaster. No one would accept the program. Entire crops were lost. Some believed that we lacked the programming language to describe your perfect world, but I believe that as a species, human beings define their reality through misery and suffering.
And starring the mad prophet of the airways, Howard Beale.
The chairman of the board of the Union Broadcasting Systems, and he died at 11 o'clock this morning of a heart condition, and woe is us. We're in a lot of trouble. So, a rich little man with white hair died. What has that got to do with the price of rice, right? And why is that woe to us? Because you people and 62 million other Americans are listening to me right now, because less than 3% of you people read books. Because less than 15% of you read newspapers. Because the only truth you know is what you get over this tube. Right now, there is an entire generation that never knew anything that didn't come out of this tube. This tube is the gospel, the ultimate revelation. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. And that's why woe is us that Edward George Ruddy died. Because this company is now in the hands of CCA, the Communication Corporation of America. There's a new chairman of the board, a man called Frank Hackett, sitting in Mr. Ruddy's office on the 20th floor. And when the 12th...
Okay, so let's continue. All right. So the muwa may seem as simple. So we'll repeat this over just so we can get back on track here. Just a portion of it here. Muwa may seem something as simple as the aforementioned, being caused by environmental factors and or genetic predisposition. From a third dimensional perspective, this may be true, but it is indeed a spiritual infliction. The conundrum is this spiritual infliction caused by the downward trajectory of humanity, or is the infliction causing the downward trajectory itself because of their nature? This is the chicken and the egg, which came first. What are some of the pros of the muwa? Some say, is there pros to actually being a muwa? Well, they tend to have little to no fear. They tend to be very bold and have a high self-esteem. The lack of empathy, great in war struggles. Because of the lack of fear, plus being bold with a high esteem, they are able to manipulate others into acts that may benefit a community, company, or regiment. What are some of the cons of the muwa? Manipulative, lacks empathy, impulsive, aggressive, arrogant, and egotistical. If the muwa had a power word, just like the empaths do, right? The empath's power word is no. The power word for the muwa is deception. Each of the aforementioned cons in itself could be a book. But the main takeaway that I would like you to know is that when you come in contact with these types, they, in more cases than not, are associating with you because of an underlying reason. It is just not to be friends, or after-work buddies, or even a client. More times than not, they have an interior motive. And unless you take heed to the signs, you will not know this until fire and brimstone was raining down. But their arrogance betrays them, more times than not, because unfortunately for them, in thinking of you in a substandard way, assumes you will not notice nor understand the reasons of them being around. When an empath denies a muwa's advancement, they invert. Okay, they invert, inversion. Okay, which leads to its destructive tendencies showing, which will be unleashed on you or anyone close to you. Through our studies, because there are many here at the center, we talk about and study many people. Okay, many people, places, and things. So, through our studies, we have seen this inversion cause a fracturing of the mind, which leads to them talking to themselves, various personality splits, to acts of violence against themselves. Just as there are pure empaths, there are also pure muwa, and then varying dilutions of it. Currently in the world of 2020, via the Gregorian calendar, there's an overabundance of the muwa in various dilutions within the population. Remember, the muwa needs attention, status, and power, just as you need to breathe. As such, they are typically the first to volunteer to be a leader, as this is seen in most, if not all, movements, including the New Age, also known as the Conscious Awakening movement. There are many of you who know me personally and say, hey, there are people who have come say, hey, why don't you do this and do that because of the position that I'm actually in? Why don't you put yourself out here like this and that? And I say, I'm good on that. Why are you caring so much what I do? Because they are muwa. That's what they would do. Do you all over and understand that? So some of you are across the pond, as they say. You in the UK. I see some in Ireland here. I see look like South Africa on the line. I see Northern Africa on the line. South America. So some of you are other places. But some of the people who come to the events and stuff like that, we actually show certain things and we discuss certain topics that would never be discussed on the air. And even privately, some people have pushed and wanted me to do just certain things that I have absolutely no interest at all. Only the muwa will have interest in that and in doing that, in doing this. Okay? And typically, again, these are things that lead to attention, status, and power. It always leads to that. That's what they have to lead to that for them. Nothing else, because of who they are. Now, they may try to deny it, but they can't deny it for long because they have an insatiable need to do that. And of course, those who come to the events and those conversations that we've had privately, you know some of those we have studied, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, the reason for this is based on the knowledge of knowing the fundamental roles of most in society. Okay? The reason for this is based on the knowledge of knowing the fundamental role of most in society. This role for most is to follow, for better or worse. Okay? We are currently in a time where everyone is told they can lead and everyone wants to be the one on the podium. But in reality, the majority are followers. That is their prime directive. Now, some don't like that. That's a little bit too real. But of course, this is the reason why most of you listen to the show, because you get the absolute raw, uncut, direct to your face, real. And sometimes it does hurt. Sometimes it does bring a certain type of vivid image that some may need to meditate on, even about themselves. So, that is their prime directive. This is evident by what they think and what they say, which in most cases is just a regurgitation of what they have heard someone else say on the internet, TV, radio, or in their social circles. Also, the need for leaders in movements, even though there is an ancient reason why this is needed. Okay, so there is a reason why that people look for a leader. It's actually an ancient reason why that I'm not going to get into. Okay, because some things are just not meant to be said publicly. And it's not because of most of you on the line, but because there's always the muwa listening as well. That's why in the book, Sacrament of the Forest, I was getting into some of the ancient rites, which are the secrets of the forest. And I said certain things just will not ever be said because there's a certain type of man, which could be also a woman, okay, that's always kind of roaming around, just looking to get more. So again, so they could obtain status, power, or attention. So because of that, which is now classified later on now as the muwa, right? Because of them, it just can't be said, okay? Because they will always take it and use it not for the benefit of anyone. They are totally about self. How can things serve the self? Okay. Let me continue on here. So I'm going to repeat the last sentence here. So continue on. Okay, so this is evident by what they think and what they say, which is in most cases just a regurgitation of what they have heard someone else say on the internet, TV, radio, or in their social circles. Also the need for leaders and movements and to pray to gods. Okay? This is stated not to make fun of anyone, nor make one feel substandard, but just to give a 100% dose of what reality actually is. Can you handle the dosage? As such, the empath and muwa both are aware of this, even if it is on a subconscious level. Part of what is taught in some mystery schools, especially those of the left-hand path, to control society, because they understand the fundamental nature of those in society. The muwa is an actor emotion. The one thing about the current age and social media is that you can see all types of phenomena out in the public, open, for all to see and examine. One of these acts of emotions, have you ever seen an adult? I'm not going to use children or teenagers, okay? I never use children or teenagers because they're still learning, still doing things, everything else, and that's just that. But adults here. So have you ever seen an adult just be told no, or a circumstance that leads to them not getting their way, and they just bust out crying or acting hyper emotional? They are so immensely upset, so much so that they have an emotional breakdown, but yet there's no tears. There is actually nothing happening of real pain except the whining and acting as if they're crying. Have you ever seen this? I'm sure the adults here on the line, I'm sure you have seen it, whether it be personally in your life. Maybe you have even done it, okay? But personally in your life, or whether it be family, friends, whether it be, of course, obviously social media. The muwa is an actor of emotion. Because who does that? I've never seen a real human do anything like that. Okay? I've seen certain people in human form do stuff like that, but why would anybody do that? It doesn't make any sense at all. So let's continue on here. And in these acts, no matter how ridiculous they are and in these acts, no matter how ridiculous the act is, they're trying to sway the internal state of those who are observing. They are clicking frantically on the button labeled Prime Directive, which is one of the few key directives inside all beings here. So, are there other Prime Directives? Of course, but that subject is for private classes and training, since there are many who should not know these truths because they will only use them to manipulate and cause even more turbulence within peaceful spaces. Okay, as a human being, there's prime directives that are set in all of us, and so the muwa especially utilizes these prime directives for their benefit. Okay, again, there are many prime directives. You could try to Google people like the muwa right now is on the line listening, trying to Google frantically prime directives. Where are they? You're not going to find anything. Because these different societies, not going to put them out there. Why would they do that? It's stupid. Okay, but these are the prime directives of all of us, of how we are. Okay, and they can be pushed and pulled. Okay, that's why one needs to meditate and seek balance and everything else. So that when these prime directives are push and pull, you can recognize that they're being pushed and pulled. You might not still, maybe kind of hard to resist, but at least you'll be able to recognize that something's pulling at you, and you'll think like, what the heck is going on? Because it shouldn't be doing that. It's because that person has initiated or is pushing on your prime directive. Okay. Lastly, and this is the last bit of it. Okay. Here again, there's other chapters, but we're not getting to those at all because those are a little bit too much for a public forum. But the book will be on the website in the next about week to two. Okay. Lastly, do not allow bias or pre-programmed perception to deceive you. Many of these types are not walking around looking like something from a nightmare. They wear nice clothes, whether it be a suit or a dress. They smell good, whether it be scents of Easy Miyagi or whipped shea butter. That's the thing now, right? To coat yourself in the butters of shea or cocoa. Here's a biblical verse. Do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you into pieces. That's Matthew chapter 7, verse 6. So pretty much don't throw pearls among swine, right? I mean, you've heard that. Okay? Don't throw the ancient, the holy knowledge amongst those who bastardize it. They will only corrupt it. Pound, pretend you're human. So that's it for tonight. Okay? There's more that came before that. Before we even got into the Empath chapter, so it was the Empath and the Muwa. Those are the two chapters we talked about tonight. Before the Empath, there's an introduction. And then after the Muwa, there's a bit of other information there. So, but these are the main two that publicly people, especially some of you who are in other parts of the world, so you can enter and understand it. You could hit replay on this a few times and really internalize what's really being said so that you can protect yourself and know how to operate within these times, as usual, right? Putting out those tools for the community to advance. So, again, this was a good upload for the collective. All right, so that's it for tonight. It was a short podcast. So if there's any comment or anything that you want to share, you're welcome to. Go hit one on the keypad. Other than that, I will end up doing the countdown, and this will be uploaded on the Metaphysic Speaks website in maybe about 20 to 30 minutes after the show actually ends. So again, any comment, question, or anything you just want to share, go on once. Comment, question, or anything you want to share, going twice. It looks like there is a caller here. 8561.
Yes, hey, how you doing? I just wanted to thank you for the podcast tonight about the empaths and the muwas, and just always need to identify people, so I thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
All right, well, thank you. Catch you next show.
All right, thanks for the call.
Thanks.
And that's the whole point, collective. You know, we are in interesting times, are we not? We are in very interesting times. And even though we may talk about other subject matter, I mean, we can't, I mean, it's like the elephant in the room, okay? So, I mean, how would it be for me just to ignore it completely? So that's why certain tools, because no matter what, there's people doing all types of things, and some of these people are doing wonderful things. But my perspective is that I rather personally have tools that I can use no matter what, okay? And those are tools of personal development, tools of personal internal strength that can be utilized whether we are in happy times or whether we in sad times, okay? Whether the grid is functioning perfectly fine or the grid goes completely down, okay? I want to know how into the power structure within myself to be able to operate in the pros and the cons. Okay, so there's a lot of things people, especially in the conscious community, the new age community, the supposed awakened community, right? There's all types of people sharing all types of things. Some of it, I'm not saying anything's bad about it, okay, but there are people sharing all types of things, and you got all these code breakers and all this and all that. And if the grid were to go down right now, you cannot use any of that. You literally just wasted your time listening to that stuff, okay? If it's really just a waste of time, you know, really, because, again, that's my perspective of it, right? Now, that is opinion of mine, okay? That is a complete, for the most part, waste of time, okay? So, because in the end, it's about you and the development of one's being so that maybe, like people, like one of the things in the conscious community is like that now goes around the circles is that, you know, people talk about escaping, right? Escaping this reality in some form or fashion, right? Or when they pass away, to not come back. Don't go into the light. Don't do it. Don't come back. You know, and that's again, these are people, the people who are saying this. I mean, of course, some of you have heard people say this, and some of these people are considered supposedly masters, right? That's actually a very foolish narrative, because this place here can literally be Eden, Okay, this is a beautiful. The world is beautiful. Remember, the world is not doing anything. It's the people that are doing things. So to leave the world and to chastise the world for what people are doing, that's a little strange. Okay, that's a little strange. But there's absolutely beautiful things here. There are beautiful things that go on all the time, right? Even the superhuman family. Okay, of course, I wished maybe one day to meet all of you who are listening on the line. We have quite a few people who've been listening for years. So I hope one day to meet you. But those who are here and those even from other countries that are able to, they come to these events and we commune. Okay, we meditate, we talk, and it's such a blissful energy that we are all together and traveling and enjoying each other's space. Okay, absolutely beautiful. Even in absolutely, the world is literally on fire, and this type of energy is taking place. Facts. So, can the world be more of that? Can that be spread across the world? And people, of course, absolutely, of course. Okay, so the thing about it is that the earth here goes through cycles. Okay, and with that, if more people were to be balanced within themselves, then the ups and downs of the cycles would not be so dramatic. And also, those of you who are actually empaths, whether you be an empath who's only a 10% of empath, or if you are a pure empath, that's 100%. You need to stop utilizing your power word. Okay, you need to start saying no. Okay, which in turn will put the muwa in check. Okay, but just be warned. Be warned. If you say no to the muwa, they're going to draw the line in the sand and start to act very aggressive. Okay, they're going to. And now, what happens when in this reading here, I mentioned what happens if you stay no, if you stay within your energy, they will invert on themselves. It always happens. Okay, now they may try to cause destruction and leave a pit of despair, a big circle of despair. They may try, but they end up inverting on themselves because they cannot handle that. Right, and so we have seen this personally in the superhuman family. Certain things have took place, and the superhumans have watched and discussed certain people, place, and things, and seen them invert, and it's quite interesting. And I can't share any details here, but I wish some of you would participate so you could actually get such an understanding of the world around you that there's nothing on YouTube that explains this stuff. Period. No matter who you listen to, there's nothing on YouTube that explains the details and the simplicity of what you can experience. And so someone say, like, man, some of these things, what did I say here? I'm going to leave it at that. There's so much to say. So much. But I'm going to leave it at that. So is there any other comments, anything you want to share? I'm going to do the countdown again momentarily. Again, before I do the countdown, the herbology class 201, the deadline for the sign-up is tonight. Okay? So it is on the website. Coupon code was Empath, EMPATH. They will give you 15% off plus free shipping on any size order. That will end on Saturday. Here. New products, Palo Santo bracelets and magnetic necklaces. Okay, so I guess that's about it. Okay, if you just came in, some people just came on the line. The show is over almost already, y'all. The show is over already. This will be posted on the website 20-30 minutes after actually the show ends, and so you could go back and listen to it. It was a power session, so we just went straight into the meat of it for the upload to the Worldwide Collective. So that's just that. So I appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. We will have another podcast in a few weeks. I wish everyone well, and we will talk soon. Take care.